Thank you for tuning in once again to his Vine and Fig Tree podcast. My name is Kurt Olson. I'm your host. Um, Coming to you in the late morning of November 19th, 2025. Um, just a few quick things I want to bring to your attention here. And the one right off the bat is one that I talked about a little bit last week. I just want to talk a little bit further about this affordability issue is becoming real. I see some people on conservative X making the case that the president is. Uh, he sends out Stephen Miller to Newsmax.com or Newsmax Television, and I don't know how many viewers Newsmax has. I'm sure I'm being unkind when I tell them suggest that they just don't have a lot of viewers. But for them to send Stephen Miller out to Newsmax Television to make the case that the president has is laser focused on affordability and that this is going to get righted sometime soon. I just It doesn't lend credibility. It just doesn't. And the affordability issue for Americans in this country, and I'm wishing I had a little bit more ability to communicate this economic issue because I'm legitimately wondering if we are beginning to see other things unfold in our economy because we have $38 trillion in debt, because we are run by the Federal Reserve and basically central banking running things. Um, the inability for our leaders to get spending under control. All this money that got dumped into the economy during COVID, and they continue to spend recklessly. Um, and those years of just quantitative easing that just kind of permeated our economy under the guise that, you know, we got it under control, when in reality, eventually certain forces take over whether you like them or not. Those are the kinds of things that I'm beginning to wonder about. And are the things that we're seeing in our economy simply forces that are beyond Trump's control? And what kind of what kind of damage does the tariffs do? And what kind of benefit does the tax plan have before there's some kind of fruit from that? These are questions I'm legitimately beginning to wonder about. But if they don't get a grip on this stuff, everything from the cost of food, cost of gas. uh, Let me just share something with folks who might see this in other parts of the country. I live in Western New York State. I live in a location where we pay 3.39 for gas, 3.39 a gallon. And the last time we saw a reduction in the price of gas was just over a year ago following the election, when Trump got you know, elected to his second non-consecutive term. We saw, what was it, a 10, 20, 30 point drop in gas, and it's stayed there ever since. So some of you folks that are paying $3 a gallon, some of you folks that are paying in the twos, you should consider yourself very, very fortunate, because we're not doing that here. And I know there are sections of the country that pay more, like California, because of all their rules on energy and whatnot. But here in Western New York, Where I live in Chautauqua County, we're we haven't seen massive drops in gas for a year. And food prices, there I know all kinds of people that are talking they're shopping early for Christmas this year because they don't know if tariffs are going to, you know, affect something at the very last second, and they don't want that to happen. So, there's a lot of things that are going on here that are affecting the lives of Americans. And there are people that need to get their stinking act together with Team Trump. Um, what I've seen out of Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, I like, but there are times I've wondered if he's just kind of carrying water. And it's not that he doesn't know what he's talking about, but that a rosier picture being painted than what actually exists in reality. So I'm going to leave that there. Um, there is a civil war unfolding on the right, and this is something that I didn't see happening the way it has unfolded since this Tucker Carlson interview of Nick Fuentes just 2, 3 weeks ago. And there are people picking sides. There were people picking sides, and I went through the list of people who are the four names people are saying they jump behind, and I am beginning to wonder, and I have not been all in on MAGA. Okay, I've attempted to be someone who will call balls and strikes when Trump hits a home run. Give him his pats on the back. When he strikes out, call it for what it is. And but I'm beginning to wonder if we are seeing in live and living color a crack up of the Trump coalition that he spent what the better part of nearly a decade building. Um, and if it is on its last legs. And if that happens, it will affect JD Vance. It will affect anyone from this administration that seeks to replace him in 2028. And there's been talk of JD Vance. There's been talk of Ted Cruz that he's got an exploratory committee formed to run for president again. You might remember in 2016, he was the last opponent to Trump prior to the convention. Um, I believe Ron DeSantis is going to run again. And there have been whimperings of Marjorie Taylor Greene, although that's a horrible idea for a lot of different reasons. Um, for me, for me, I always have said the best presidents come from executive leadership. Um, I I have supported some legislators in the past when my options of governors have not panned out um, in elections. But Ron DeSantis is my guy. I'm just saying that. I said that in 2024, um, and I say that again here. Ron DeSantis, he is the most effective governor in this country. He is the most efficient governor in this country. He is the most, he's dealing with issues, even immigration, even the H-1B visa issue, he's dealing with on a statewide level. And no one does it better. He's got his budget under control. He's got, he's calling for the elimination of property taxes nationwide. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the financial the financial benefit to Americans across the country, if that kind of thing were to happen, the elimination of property taxes nationwide, wow. Um, I just say all that to say this is what's unfolding right now, folks. As we get past the 2026 midterms, and if things don't improve really quickly, and Trump proved to the American people he understands and he's got this affordability issue under control, Republicans are going to have it will be a bloodbath. It will make what happened in 2010 to Barack Obama look like child's play. And it's coming whether they like it or not. And you either deal with the issues that are affecting Americans or you suffer the consequences. That's the way the game works. Last thing I want to talk about here is something that I had no clue was going on until I got home Monday evening from work. Oh no, I even had a meeting after work, and I didn't see this until I got home after about 8:15 Monday night. You know, get a little bite to eat, get a quick shower, and I'm just kind of settling down for the night. And X is a buzz with people triggered by a song by Skillet. I'm gonna get into that here in a second. And then Tuesday, nearly my entire X feed was just filled with multiple people commenting on this thing that happened with the Skillet video. And I'm like going, well, what is it? So, Skillet, and for those of you who are not familiar with Skillet, Skillet is probably the premier Christian metal band that exists in this country. Skillet, and I can't say this as a massive fan, but I know enough about them to know what they do. They they've gone on tour into some really dark places where people are drunk or high at the concerts, and the only voice of hope is what they're bringing. John Cooper, very outspoken lead vocalist and the lead of Skillet, um, has been very not just vocal. I would say he's been trying to uh, pick up steam on the fact that our country is losing its mind and speaking truth into a culture that is in complete utter chaos. Um, got a lot of respect for John Cooper. And so Skillet produces their version of O Come, Emmanuel. Um, Obvious Christmas song. And people know this as a quiet hymn. So if you, and in the description to this podcast, I'm going to drop a link to the official music video to O Come Emmanuel. And it runs about 4.5 minutes. And the first nearly 3 minutes of the video is this kind of classic version of what you see. It's John Cooper, Jen Ledger. Jen Ledger enters this church, and you are it's classic. O come Emmanuel. And then in classic Skillet fashion, it goes hard. And there are people on social media who, you know, apparently are trying to get their 15 minutes of fame and, viral responses by basically calling Skillet satanic, demonic, unchristian, name it. And I've now seen the video 3 times. And I'm left asking, what's the hubbub about? Unless you are living under a rock and don't understand who Skillet is and what they do, of course you're going to be offended by what happens at like the 3 minute mark. And, but the way the song starts and the way the song ends, frankly, is absolutely beautiful. And, when Skillet does what it does in classic Skillet fashion, I didn't regard it as something that was out of bounds. Okay? Are churches going to start playing this rendition of O Come Emmanuel? No, nor should they. But these people that are losing their minds over how this song was produced, they just need to take a stinking deep breath. You know, come up for air, folks. Stop hyperventilating. This takes me back to my teen years, frankly, because the conversations that have been generated from it take me straight back to my teen years. Okay, my brother was now at college. Um, I was the only Olsen kid in the house, and I was listening to DeGarmo and Key, Petra, the Bob Carlyle band, um, a variety of others, um, and Whiteheart. In fact, Whiteheart was the first Christian concert I went to. It came to Jamestown, New York in fall 1985, my senior year of high school, and Jeff Moore was the opening act for Whiteheart. And for everyone who knows Steve Green from his solo career and singing in churches and all this other stuff, well, Steve Green was a vocalist for Whiteheart back in the day. And my mom came from a tradition as a musician. She played the piano and the organ. She came from a tradition where Christian music was a certain style. And I get that. And I respected her for it. But we had multiple conversations when I was in my late teen years and I was entering college, uh, of the music that I listened to. DeGarmo and Key, Ed DeGarmo and Dana Key, I saw them in concert in Lynchburg, Virginia at EC Glass High School, and their heart for people is unmatched. Now, Dana Key is now deceased, but we have Petra doing reunion tours at churches across the country. We have stuff like this going on. And this was a conversation back in the 1980s mid and late 1980s and even a little bit before, and it carried on for a little while, where people like saying, you know, God can't bless rock music. He can't bless Christian rock music. He can't, and those were the days when the Res Band was a thing and a variety of other groups. You would eventually see Striper on the scene, and I remember my freshman year of college, which would have been fall '86, spring '87, when Petra and DeGarmo and Key went on tour, and the person who joined them on tour was Josh McDowell. He of author of More Than a Carpenter and a variety of other books related to apologetics of the Christian faith. And I can remember reading a CCM story on that tour, and Josh McDowell said, "These are the most spiritual guys I know." And he was attempting to get people of his generation and others to just take a deep breath and realize, everything was going to be all right, that this music wasn't going to necessarily invade your church, and you know, you shouldn't be hyperventilating if your kids are listening to it, because these people care about the souls of your kids. And I don't know why we have to have these crack ups in the church on occasion. The most frustrating thing about this whole episode for me has been how brothers and sisters in Christ have been horrible to other brothers and sisters in Christ. Now, John Cooper came out with a statement yesterday, and these people that are offended, that think it's the worst they've ever heard, he's not troubled by it. Life is going to continue, and but to read some of these responses that people have had to Skillet's version of O Come, Emmanuel," um, just it it just kind of aches my heart, because John Cooper, Jen Ledger, the rest of the band, they're brothers and sisters in Christ, and they need to be treated accordingly. And I get it. We all make misjudgments, and we can say harsh things in a moment when people are acting more emotionally than really thinking through things. But I just we need to get past this sooner rather than later. And I could go on and kind of dissect what I think that song is kind of hitting on, because it and that's based on the opening setting for it. And But anyone losing your mind over Skillet's version of O Come, Emmanuel, come up for air, folks. Seriously, deep breath. This will pass too, and life will continue. That's all I have this week. For those of you who read my column, watch this podcast, thank you for doing so. If you like what you're reading, like what you're listening to, please share it. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We're quickly coming into the Thanksgiving season. Um, Hoping to have my kids on for a podcast over Thanksgiving. And until next time, God bless and goodbye.